Hello, this is Tsukihime. Welcome back to my Let's Play of Tales of Phantasia for the Game Boy Advance. This episode, I think I'm just gonna stand right here, and I'm gonna tell you a little story. A very long story that is actually longer than this game itself. A tale called Tale of Phantasia. It's the name of the unpublished script set, which was the backbone of this game. This game is actually considered one part of the actual three-part saga. A lot of it had to be removed. There was a lot of content. But anyway, it was written primarily by Wolf Team's lead programmer, and it was accompanied by artwork as well by Yoshiaki Inagaki. The lead programmer's name was Yoshihiro Gotanda. Many aspects of the original script set had to be changed during development, and I find the most biggest change was just the story, but some people tend to think that the name of the actual putting of in front in between is actually bigger, but no, it's not. Anyway, a lot of things had to be changed during development about the story, characters. Yes, even the characters are completely different than what they originally imagined. This led to a lot of strife in the game with the game's publisher at Namco, who basically cut them off development and left their names uncredited in the final game's release. A lot of people did not like how this game was turning out. They didn't like Tales of Phantasia. I can only imagine how awesome of a game this would have been if they actually included all the content. But for many reasons, between the publisher and the hardware limitations of the Super Nintendo, they couldn't include everything into the game. But the people who actually left Namco and decided to make their own group, the founding of Tri-Ace. This is the reason why another game released at nearly the same time, Star Ocean, has almost the exact same battle concepts and not exactly the same story, but the same kind of gameplay. But anyway, back to the story at hand. The story of Tale of Phantasia was intended to be from three viewpoints. The first of these was the story of Winona Pickford, a woman who meets Dhaos shortly after his arrival on Asalia, and sympathizes with him, but eventually starts to recognize Dhaos' increasingly violent behavior that has consumed all of his noble intentions. So she basically decides that she is going to defeat Dhaos, to find some way to defeat him. This involved recruiting a few characters. So I'm just reading from a script here. So she basically made one of the four to defeat Dhaos in the end. This right in the beginning of the story, where the four unknown warriors were defeating him. The four warriors were eventually known, well, I'm not sure if it's officially known, but it's assumed that the four people were Edward D. Morrison, Alan Albane, Carol Adenade, and Winona Pickford. They were the original four. Of course, Carol Adenade being one of Mint's ancestors, and Alan Albane is one of Cress's ancestors. So, it's the story, that's the first part of the story, is basically a defeat this evil man type thing. But this phase of the story was cut from the game entirely during the development process due to space limitations. That is the reasoning. So the intended story ended up being released as more like a little short thing right at the beginning, like a prologue type thing. But anyway, Winona's story is actually told in greater detail in the novel Tales of Phantasia, Katare Warzu Rikishi. I probably ruined that name, I apologize. But the author it's written by Ryuji Saiki. So the story is actually told more in depth in this book. I don't know if it's translated to English. I kinda wanna see if it is, but quite frankly, I've had enough of looking for English translations for stuff as of late. I'll have to pass on that for now. But anyway, the second part of the story is actually the point of view of Rhea Scarlet, the daughter of the two prominent magi-technology scientists of Hamel. She experiences the destruction caused by Dhaos' badness firsthand when her parents became the first casualties of the ensuing war. Yeah, so they were killed. This was the story of what happened to Hamel, why it got destroyed. It explains. It's basically a big contrast between her and Winona. Because while Winona is expressing great sympathy for Dhaos and his downfall, Rhea's viewpoint is one of fury and vengeance and anger. This phase of the story was greatly abridged. You've seen it for yourself. In the game, Rhea's involvement is limited to the story of the party's encounter with Demetel during Hamel's destruction. She is not very prominent in the story anymore. She used to have a bigger role, but now she doesn't. So I can only imagine what they could have put into it. Like I said, the final phase of the story is told from the viewpoint of Cress Almain, who goes on a journey through time to have his revenge against Dhaos over the death of his own parents, only to discover more noble objectives and such. But yes, it's definitely the third part of the story is what the game ends up being. But it's very sad that it was only 1/3 of the actual game actually got released on Super Nintendo cartridge. I really would like to see how the story could have been if there was no hardware limitations, if the publisher never gave him such a hard time. If. But unfortunately, it's not the case. So, the published game focuses more on the aspect of Cress Albain, as you can see. Of course, it's kind of fragmented due to various details which are not properly explained. So, in many aspects of the dialogue also in the Super Famicom release was written as if the player were aware of the events told from other viewpoints. Like there is certain times where it seems like it is implied that he already knows. So it just seems like there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Like I've never actually noticed playing through Tales of Phantasia, but there are certain times in the game where it seems like Cress & Co. actually do seem to know something, and they've never actually... It's like they knew it, but I don't know how they know it. Like there are certain things like that. It's plot holes that were left in the game. It's definitely sad just thinking about how this game could have been so much better, even though it is a very wonderful game. I still say Tales of Phantasia is my most favorite game. I'm gonna walk now. It is my favorite by far. Like, this game cannot be beaten, even though this one that I'm playing now for the Super Famicom is actually getting up there. But it's just thinking about how it could be so much more kind of depresses me, that's all. But anyway, enough sappy story. Oh, where am I supposed to go? Down. Yes. I'm just gonna play through this and not skip. It's, yeah, I know I could have told most of that story. I could have told most of that story while traveling, but I decided not to, mostly because I wanted to actually focus on what I'm saying instead of focusing on what I'm doing. So, I'm sure you can understand that. But yeah, Tale of Phantasia was such a... from what I've been reading online, it's such a wonderful idea, but it's just, unfortunately, a lot of it had to be removed. And there's conflicting reasons why. It's like, software limitations is for a reason for some parts, and publisher doesn't want it for other parts, and it just still... Oh shit, I shouldn't use that. It's just still something that was really... I really wish they kept it in the game, but there was absolutely no way they could have. This is basically what I'm trying to say. But I have, like, while I was researching and such like that, I actually did find out a little bit about Winona Pickford and stuff like that. She is the character in the opening credits that is, I believe, is the one that's kind of fallen down. One of the girls. But, yeah. Like, I wanted to reduce what I was saying, because a lot of it had something to do with spoilers, but, from what I understood from what was told, Dhaos was actually quite the noble person until eventually he was just driven mad. But from what... Oh, Battlemaster. From what I understand, something just changed in him, that's basically it, and he became like this madman, but he still had his purpose in mind. It's like, it's fine if you go nuts, but he seemed to go nuts with a purpose. Yep, let's go back to Alvinista. I think they give you the option to walk there manually just in case you wanted to finish off some side quests like the Elwyn and Nancy side quest. I'm pretty sure I finished that. If I did, then I would have the title for Mint, wouldn't I? Yeah. Okay. I finished it. For now. Yeah, there's a lot of history behind this game, and there's a lot... I suppose if they removed the J-pop song in the opening, maybe they would have had enough space to actually put the whole game in. But unfortunately, they really wanted that J-pop song, I guess. They could have easily removed that and made it just an instrumental or something. I mean, they done it for the Game Boy Advance version, I'm still angry about that. But for that, I actually think it has something to do with the license expiring. So, I think that's what the reason was behind that. And actually, there's some third-party companies like Namco is actually getting money off of this for every view. Certain videos picked up as their own property. So instead of shutting it down, they decided to get profit off of it. That's kind of funny. I don't care. I'm doing this for fun. Yep. Okay, let's set sail. I hope that's the one that gets me to Beladim. Yes, it is. Okay. But yeah, like I just can't get over how much history this game actually has before it was even produced. Like the story about Winona Pickford and the true story about Rhea Scarlet. She ended up being a 2-bit character that ends up staying for about 30 minutes of gameplay, and that's it. There was so much more that could have been done, but it wasn't. Well, I guess that's just how it is. It's just how it is, and I felt like there was stuff removed, but I didn't feel like it was that bad. Anyway, let's go in here. Where's Bart? Phew! Finally back at Arch's house. Arch? You lied to me, Daddy! My mom didn't die. Huh? You met her? I see. Why did she leave? Because of an affair? Heavens no! Why would you think that? The race of elves closed themselves off from the rest of the world. At least, I think that's what happened. Here's what I recall. Just 10 or so years ago, elves and humans lived together. Gee, that recently? But one day, they suddenly started hating humans. They won't allow any commingling? Any commingling of elven blood with humans. I'm gonna have to look that up afterwards, viewers. I'm gonna figure out what that word is. And they've gone to isolation in Ymir Forest. Okay. So something happened 10 years ago which might have something to do with what I was saying for the past 10 minutes or more. Of course, not all elves are of the same mind. There are many cases of elves forcibly separated from humans. Luti and I were one of those couples. Luty! Must you leave? I'm afraid so. But why? Why can't we no longer live together? Luty, please reconsider. Bart, together we can... Why, Luty, why? The differences between our races are much greater than we thought, you humans. You should think carefully about the foolish things you have done, and are trying to do now. What are you talking about? I don't understand. If you don't reconsider, then we shall never again appear before you humans. Huh, what has humans done? That's a grammar perfect. What have humans done? Why are you doing this, Luty? So apparently humans done something very, very bad 10 years ago, which might have something to do with what I was saying all along. And maybe it's the reason why Dhaos has gone mad, who knows. The foolish things humans are doing now... I have no idea what he meant. Luty begged me to think of her as dead. That's what she wanted. So, that was my mother. Hmm? She said she was sorry. You don't hate her anymore, do you, Daddy? I never once in my life hated your mother. Oh, she's crying. Then, maybe things will return to how they were before? So let's not talk about it anymore. Okay, I'm sorry I lied to you. There's one other thing. It's about Rhea's parents. Did they do something wrong? Huh? Is there a connection between the Scarlets and Midgards? Well, they did move here from Midgard several years ago. And I heard the Scarlets were conducting research on some mysterious power at the castle. Did something happen to them? Mysterious power? Are you talking about Magitech? I wonder if Magitech and Dhaos are somehow connected. We'd better get back to Midgards. Yeah. How will you return? I think I'm gonna go right now this time around. Look! Something's coming over at the castle entrance. Okay. Castle entrance. Oh no! Morrison, what's going on? Heh, so the main players are all finally here. What you want, Justona? I came to declare war. However, it's not in my nature to simply leave empty-handed. I'm sure Lord Dhaos will be absolutely delighted if I claim your lives right here and now. Why you? Don't move. One step closer in this brat's history. That's not fair. You're just as good as dead anyway. You, Morrison, and those other 3 fools over there. Arch, I hope you're watching this. You fools! Morrison! Stay back! If I could just expand this, it would enable time travel. Hahaha, I think not. I'm not imitating that because then people will start thinking something really bad. Don't try this at home. I mean yourselves. What are you?